So in this problem, we are given the structure of an antibiotic and we are asked to identify the circled functional groups. So we're going to look at this example and we're going to look at two more examples just like it in this video. So if we take a look at the first circled functional group, we can see that we have a carbonyl. And so we have several different carbonyl containing functional groups. When we're trying to decide what type of carbonyl it is, we need to see what's actually attached to either side. And so we can see that on one side we have a bond to an OH group, and on the other side we have a bond to a carbon, and so we can just generally put that as an R group. So this is a carboxylic acid. And if we look at the next functional group, we see we again have a carbonyl, so it's a carbon double bonded to an oxygen. So once again, we want to look and see what is attached to either side. And so we see a bond to carbon here and a bond to carbon here. So if we have two different bonds to carbon groups, then it is a ketone. And then finally, if we look at the last circled functional group, we see we have a nitrogen. And then we want to see, we have a couple different nitrogen-containing functional groups. We want to see what this is attached to. We have all single bonds to this nitrogen, and we don't have a carbonyl nearby, so this is an amine. So that means that our answer here is D. All right, so let's look at two more similar examples. So this time we have the structure of a molecule that gives us the fiery taste of chili peppers. So we're going to again take a look at all of these functional groups. So in this first circled functional group, we see an OH. We want to see what that's attached to. And it's attached to a carbon. And so it could be an alcohol, it could be a carboxylic acid, but we don't see a carbonyl, so that is an alcohol. All right, and in the next group, we see that we have a carbonyl. And so then we want to see what that carbonyl is attached to. So on one side we see NH and then another bond to carbon, and the other side we see an R group. So this is an amide. And then finally in our last circled group we see a carbon-carbon double bond. It's not part of a benzene ring, so this is an alkene. So this answer then is D. All right, we're going to look at one more molecule. And so in this last example, we have another antibiotic. This is amoxicillin. It belongs to the penicillin family of antibiotics. And so our first circled functional group, we see that we have a carbonyl, and we have a lot of different carbonyl containing functional groups. So you always want to see what's attached on either side of the carbonyl. So on one side, we see an OH, and on the other side, we see a bond to a carbon. So this is a carboxylic acid. And then if we look at our next circled functional group, we see NH2. So this could either be an amine or an amide. If there was a carbonyl attached to the next carbon over, so right on this carbon, it would be an amide, and there is not. So that is an amine. And here in our last group, we see OH. And so if this was attached to a carbon that had a double bond to oxygen, it would be a carboxylic acid like we see up here, but it does not have that. So this is an alcohol.